Hello, Year 5 and 6. Welcome to Thursday's tutorial. We are looking at authorial techniques today. So authorial techniques, that's literally the techniques that authors use in their writing. You'll be very familiar with a lot of these. You'll actually be very familiar with most of them, I think, but it's always nice to have a bit of a reminder. For this activity, what I've done is I've written my own little bit of text. It is my own little story that I'm writing all about life in lockdown for a young boy named Callum. So before I go any further, I'd like you to just pause the screen for me and then have a read through. What I'll do is I'll put my picture just there for a moment so that you can read the left-hand side. Then I'll move my picture over to the other side so you can read the right-hand side. Have a bit of a read through, pause the screen, read through the left, re-pause again and read through the right, and then we'll carry on with the tutorial. Okay, wonderful. Hopefully now everybody has read through my little story that I have written. So when we're looking at authorial techniques, it's important to sort of look at them and try and highlight where they are. Obviously, you can do this with a text of your own at home. You don't have to use this text. This is just for an example. But if you did want to use this text, you're more than welcome. If you are doing it at home, I hasten to add, if you're doing this in a proper book, please don't highlight or draw or annotate in an actual book. I'd far rather what you did is get a piece of paper and write down those authorial techniques. So if we go through, we'll start with what I've highlighted or coloured in purple. So we've got what was that now at the top, and then down at the bottom we've got what was going on. Now these are both questions, but they're not just normal questions. They are what we call rhetorical questions. They're questions that the author does not expect you to answer. So why would an author use those techniques? Why would you put in a rhetorical question? Well, it engages the reader. It makes them feel like they're being brought into the story. They might not be needing to answer the question necessarily, but they are being brought in. Their opinion is being sort of shown that it's being respected. What they think makes them think. So actually makes them think about why things are happening in the way they are, makes them much more engaged. You'll find a lot of these techniques are used to engage the reader. We've then got what I've just done in normal red. So we've got chucking off the duvet, as he watched, obviously. After that, though, sucking in a breath and hoping that he would take in some courage with the air around him, and then as soon as his fingers made contact. Now, I'm not going to say what technique that is just yet. I'd like you to, if you are watching this tutorial and if there's anybody around you, I'd like you to do some showing off. What technique is that being used consistently through the text? I'll give you a moment to say it out loud. Hopefully, having just given you that moment, hopefully you all said that that is a fronted adverbial, and they are. They're all examples of fronted adverbials. Sometimes it is just a fronted adverb in the case of obviously. Sometimes it's a fronted adverbial because it's telling you how something's done with an adverbial phrase. And that helps us ground the sort of what's happening in the text. It helps us ground that in either place or in time, or it helps us understand how a character is doing something. So it's either that place, that time, or that manner in which the events of the story are happening. So that's really important for clarity in your story. What I've then got is, and I've done it in bold, if you look at the second paragraph on the left-hand side, just in bold, no colour, still just in black, but just in bold. And we've got rain, not just a light drizzle, nothing so ignorable as a mild mizzle. Now, I've put those in because they're short sentences. Rain, single word on its own. That can be really powerful, really, really drives a point home. It's very dramatic. It's also very, very descriptive. If you just give that one word, rain, then as the reader, you have nothing else to think about, nothing that your head is going to lose the point in any way. You're focused entirely on that. It makes it really clear that that rain is all important. That's why it's being given its own sentence as a single word. So it really emphasizes a point when we use those short sentences, not just a light drizzle, nothing so ignorable as a mild mizzle. Got a slight bit of rhyme there as well, got a little bit of alliteration, but the point is that they're short, concise, powerful sentences. What we also have, which is used a lot, is the rule of three. So we have those three short sentences, and we use rule of three, and we see rule of three being used all the time in our writing. Been lots of study by authors, by psychologists, by sort of etymologists into why the rule of three is so powerful, but it's certainly been proven that by having those three things, it really drives a point home. If you're in my class for my English group, that's why we have that 3ED rule, one of our really useful rules. We've then got in green, this was proper soak you to your pants, turn your brolly inside out and build yourself an arc level rain. And that's an example of the rule of three again. We have one bit of description, comma, second bit of description, and third bit of description. So comma and then and for that rule of three. Down at the bottom there and in the top right, we have the blue. So the water was propelled into the air like a hippo had just been dropped into a paddling pool. And the trickling water droplets down the window pane were prison bars. They are examples of metaphors and similes. I'm not going to tell you which way round is which. I'd like you to email me in with that, please, with an answer to that. So which one of them is a simile? How do you know? Which one of them is a metaphor? How do you know? We've then got the red underlined, trudging tiredly towards the teal-tiled bathroom. Now that is an example of alliteration, that repetition of the T at the beginning of the words. We can have that with any letter. It has lots of different names depending on the letter, but we refer to it all as alliteration. If you are interested, if you have an A at the beginning, it's called assonance. If you have an S at the beginning, it's called sibilance. But overall, they are all examples of alliteration. So trudging tiredly towards the teal-tiled bathroom. I think that helps really get that idea of the trudging. It's almost that da-dum, 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 because you've got that repetition. So it's kind of acting as a way of really making you understand as a reader that it really is trudging. It's these heavy, laboured footsteps as he goes. So sometimes alliteration can be for that. It can also be to build tension. But in this case, I think it's more being used to get that idea of a repetition and a monotony of movement. Nearly done now. We've then also got down at the bottom there, again underlined, the soft silvery surface. So that's another example of our alliteration. Again, that's our sibilance this time, with repetition of the S. And that, I think when it's the S sound, it makes it a little bit creepy. Something a bit, it's almost like the hissing of a snake, the soft silvery surface. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I think that adds tension, adds drama, makes something quite spooky, I suppose, I would say. So that's part of your task for today, is to identify authorial techniques, ideally from a text of your own, a book that you've got at home. If you haven't got a book at home, you can use these ones, but the difficulty there is you're not getting quite as much from it because I've already identified them. When you've identified them though, what you then need to do, please, is you need to write out why the author uses those techniques. So we have identified that in that text, I used similes, metaphors, short sentences, front adverbials, rhetorical questions, and I use rule of three. There's lots of other things I used as well. Some of you, when you have read through that, you'll have noticed lots of other things. There's lots of examples of subordinate clauses, relative clauses, as examples of different types of punctuation for parenthesis. There's examples where I've used metaphors as well as the ones that I pointed out. So there's lots of things in there, vivid imagery as well. But you then need to write down why, in your opinion, and that's the key bit, this is your opinion. There's not a right, there's not a wrong. But why do you think the author has made those choices? Because remember, back to our Walt for today, we are looking at authorial techniques and why they are used. This is the why are they used bit. So I think similes are used to help the audience imagine and visualize what the author is describing, make it seem more real to them, put it in a sense, in a way that they understand. Similar with the metaphor, because they are very similar things, a metaphor and a simile. So they're being used for the same sort of reasons. I've not gone on to say why I think short sentences are being used, because I don't want to do all the work for you. So that's what I'd like you to do, please. That is your Thursday task. Hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. Oh dear, lockdown's been going on too long. I'm forgetting how to speak. As ever, any problems at all, anything you're struggling with, drop me an email. I'll do everything I can to help you. And best of luck. Look forward to seeing the responses. Also, just a last sort of thing to remind you of, we are doing our our newsletter coming out this Friday. The idea of the newsletter is that you all send in things that you'd like to say to your friends, your classmates, any little messages, little things that you've been getting up to, as well as your work. What else have you been getting up to? Any projects you've done? Have you been teaching yourself how to do a load of keepy uppies? Have you broken your record on that? Have you got to a new level on your favorite game? Anything that you've been up to, we'd love to hear about them. If you just send us in a really short 2 or 3 sentences explaining that, or a message you'd like us to put, then we can put those on that newsletter. Need them in today though, really, because the newsletter is going out tomorrow. So hope you can send those in. Look forward to reading them and hearing from you. Speak to you all again soon. Bye bye.